Thank you for joining us for our special Monday show. Today, very interesting. First, we're going to be talking to Xi Van Fleet. She describes herself as Chinese by birth, American by choice. She escaped to the USA after going through and surviving the devastating Chinese Cultural Revolution under Mao and his wife. Decades later, she's warning that America is on the same path. She calls it cultural Marxism. She saw this as something that destroyed her birth country, and she is very concerned about it. Her book is Mao's America, A Survivor's Warning. Susan is very interested in this topic and very concerned about this very phenomenon and has been thinking about it for some time.
Everybody knows it.
Dr. Meryl Nass will be here at the top of the next hour. She has an update for us on the next thing we should be worried about, which is the overreach of the World Health Organization and some of the fear-mongering that is yet going on by some of our regulatory organizations. So we'll get into this very special Monday show after this.
Our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for Christ's sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want to help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Let's talk about aging, because everyone wants to know how to slow it down. For almost a decade, I've been taking a healthy aging supplement called True Niagen. This supplement boosts NAD, that's something that cells can't live without. It's done with a patented form of nicotinamide riboside called NR, or Niagen. It's more efficient and more scientifically reviewed than NMN or other NAD boosters. True Niagen is truly the best way to boost NAD levels. And it's made by Chromadex. They are the gold standard in the NAD space. Dr. Charles Brenner, the scientist who discovered the NAD boosting potential of NR, explains.
And the center of the metabolism that allows the conversion of food into energy is NAD coenzymes. And NAD gets disturbed in the aging process. And as we're exposed to conditions of metabolic stress, Niagen, which is the form of NR that was developed by Chromadex, is the best and the only fully legal form of NR. And this is really the gold standard for NAD boosting vitamins.
I love this product. I urge you to try it. Go to drdrew.com/True Niagen for 20% off your order. That is drdrew.com/True Niagen, TRUNIAGEN, and enter Dr. Drew at checkout, DRDREW. Enter it at checkout for 20% off. I am just looking at, by the way, the Chromadex True Niagen. I take it every day. I've taken it for 10 years. I cannot recommend it strongly enough. If you want to pick one supplement, that's your supplement.
Dr. Drew approved.
Anyway, just the fact that more people aren't taking that is astonishing to me. So that's my basic position. I'm looking at how Caleb titled today's Twitter Spaces, which is Chinese Revolution Survivor Warns USA is on the same path. And so that is Xi Van Fleet. You can Caleb's laughing at himself. You can follow her on Twitter, or on X rather. Let me make sure I've got her. Whoops, I think it is just Xi Van Fleet. Am I getting that correct, everybody? Hold on, I'm down in Meryl Nass. Now, there it is, XIVANFLEET. No, I'm sorry, on Twitter, it's just X Van Fleet. I beg your pardon, X Van Fleet. And it looks like in Instagram, it is XI Van Fleet. And we have many sort of links for her you can find on our YouTube and whatnot. And as I said, Meryl Nass will join us a little bit later. You can follow her on X at Nass Meryl, MERYL. Xi, welcome so much. We appreciate you being here so much. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So I want to sort of tell the story. I know you've done it a million times, but I want my listeners to hear not just your personal story through the cultural, I remember it being called the cultural purge at one time. I think that people have for some reason softened it to the Cultural Revolution. your story through that and what you saw and what you understand happened during that revolution, so-called.
Well, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I was too young to really understand what was going on, but I do remember, and it was like overnight, my world turned upside down, and that's absolutely how many people felt. It was a world turned upside down. So one day I went to the classroom, and there was a sign on the blackboard: no class for 3 days, and that 3 days turned to 2 years. For some schools, it's 4 years, no school. School was shut down. Why? Because the principals or administrators or teachers were ousted by the students. That's a revolution. And we were told the bad guys were those in power. And to kids, who you think first when you think about people in power and teachers? So overnight, that the teachers were become our enemies. And as kids, and it's our duty to fight against the enemies that Mao told us, because Mao defined them as the enemy. They are called reactionary intellectual authorities.
And was it like Hitler Youth, where young people were being encouraged to report things to certain authorities? Because I'm imagining you were in grade school, and I imagine my bet would be that it was the high school and above that were turned in, and the rest of them just took off before the grade school kids could come after them. Were they being encouraged to report it to certain authorities?
It's always a feature. It is the feature of the Chinese Communist Party, and not in the Cultural Revolution, but it started the day it was born. So it's the DNA of the Communist Party, and we were always taught. And even I was only 7. It's already ingrained in my mind that Mao and the party demand our absolute loyalty. So if we have to choose between the party and Chairman Mao and our parents, absolutely, we choose the party. So we were, it's not just Cultural Revolution, that we were required to report to the party. And not just your friends, your neighbors, your co-workers, and even your family. And there's just no question about it. It's not even that's something you have to think about it. You automatically choose the party, because if you don't, and if they found out you and your parents or you all, eventually all of you will be denounced, and you will be anyone that did not report will be considered enemies.
Is that Is it still underway to that degree, do you think?
Absolutely. Nowadays, and it changed forms. So the before, they depend on people, right? Because there's no technology. They depend on people reporting people. Today, they have better technology. They have surveillance technology, and then now they have such technology that if you have frequent contact with someone with low social credit score, you will be affected. So now today they don't need really people reporting people. The technology will take care of it. But that's always the culture.
I always wonder how to understand. Let's say, I'm going to just as an example, I'm not picking this for any specific reason, but during the pandemic war games, so-called, that I forget the name and number of that thing. There was a moment there a year before COVID where they were war gaming these things, and people from all over the world came. There were a lot of Chinese scientists and clinicians in that meeting. And I remember talking to people who were at that meeting who spoke so glowingly about their collaboration with the Chinese. How did the Chinese see those people that believed that their colleagues were collaborating with them?
As I said, it's part of the culture. Actually, I think a lot of people doing it without thinking what it is. It is really a form of control by the government to use people against people. But it's in the DNA, and it's always for the greater good, right? Especially during the pandemic. That's what we're told. But this is not just Chinese. This is here. It is actually taking roots in American culture that we are supposedly. So when I quit my job in order to write my book 2 years ago, and I remember even years back in my workplace, we're told, hear something, say something. Hear what? Hear hear racist comments. And if you hear it, you should report. Report to, we had this DNI back then, is Diversity and Inclusion Council. So, and then during the pandemic, we were told that we should report. So-and-so did not wear a mask. So-and-so, the neighbor having a party will have a family gathering. So it's no longer something alien. It's no longer something we over there in the communist country. It's here. It is a way for government to control people. So any government want to.
Yeah. That's one of the questions I had. I wanted your opinion that I look at these tendencies for this sort of totalitarian creep, let's call it, that we sort of, government seem to creep that way. Is it something, I'm trying to understand why it happens, right? Is it something that just the kind of people that climb into positions of governmental power want more control? It's sort of a natural feature of a human in those positions? Or is there something more consciously almost nefarious going on, where eventually somebody gets in the mix who sees this as some sort of opportunity? And as you said, it's always in the name of doing good and doing right. I mean, whether it's French Revolution, Mao China, 20th century Russia, whatever it is, it's always the name of the good, the greater good.
Yes.
Why does it happen? Why does it seem to happen again and again, even in the face of obvious, 5 years ago, we all understood this was a terrible thing and did horrible harm to people. All of a sudden, we're in it. Mm-hmm. How does it go from one to the other?
Okay, you're asking a really the question in kind of psychologically why, huh? I don't have a real good. I don't have like a complete answer, but I do know that this appeals to the worst of human nature. So for the people above, they do want to control. And how do they control? They can't control everyone, so they have to use a way to use people, reporting people. So use people to control people. And but for humans, and there is also the worst part of humans is this is a system that allows them to really revenge people they don't like, or to use this as an opportunity to get to people that they had grievances against. This happened, like you said, in the French Revolution. This happened during the Cultural Revolution, or in China since the communists took over. This become a standard feature. During any political campaign, you have people going after people they don't like, making up stories. But the system works because you report. They don't really. It's not about truth. It's about it's about control. So if you have a problem with your coworker, you can make up some rumors, some stories, and you report to the party. And the party will believe you because the party is not going after truth. They're just going after people. So if you can make people fighting each other, that's how they control you. So that's how I look at it. But I'm sure there's other reasons that people do that.
I'm confused why they need control. I mean, I live in a country where we thought it was the opposite. I thought that's what we valued was the opposite. And I can remember whenever I let me try to think of anything conservative that I stood behind, because normally I was fighting conservatives, but occasionally I come up with a conservative opinion. And And always what I would get back was, you're not the boss of me. You can't control me. I was like, I'm not even, I'm not interested in that. I don't understand what would make somebody interested in that. I guess it was around the addiction setting. I was like, don't let people do that. There's a way to address it that's firm, and that's considered, controlling somebody. No, I have somebody whose brain isn't working. I'm trying to I know certain techniques to get them to where they can get well. That's different than just this need for control.
It's different.
Need for control is mysterious for me. It's mysterious. I don't understand it.
It's about power. It's really about power. If you think about it, and how do you hold on to power? Because your power. Well, when I say your power, I'm talking about the Chinese Communist Party. They did not get it because people want people put them there to represent them. So they got it through violence, through a really revolution. So in order to maintain power, they have to control. They have to control not just people, but people's mind. And so, and I talked to someone, and then we discussed the difference between authoritarianism and totalitarianism. And I think the difference is pretty big. Authoritarianism is a government that they will make decisions and force it upon people. As long as people follow it, well, they're okay with it. Okay, so even if you don't believe it, as long as you follow it, it's fine. And so that is, to me, the government that the CCP overthrew. That's the nationalist government that they were defeated and then kicked out China to Taiwan. They were authoritarianism. They force their decision upon people and require that you follow it. But CCP is different. Communists are different. They not only want you to follow it, they want you to believe it. So you have to, they have to control every aspect of your life, your home, what you do at your own home, and what you read, what you think. And it's here they really want to control. And that's totalitarian. And that's what we're dealing with.
That's what you see is happening now here? Yes.
They want your mind. They want to control your mind. You can't just, just say, okay, leave me alone. I do this. No. You have to believe it. And you have to say, not just say 2 plus 2 is 4. You have to be is 5. You can't just say, okay, leave me alone. 2 plus 2 is 5. No, you have to absolutely believe it. And they have way to make you believe. And in China, it's called thought reform. Everyone has to go through it. After they took over China in 1949, everyone from down to the villager up to the CCP leadership, everyone has to go through that thought reform. So you only have one thought in your mind, and that's Mao Zedong thought. That is the correct thought. And then even Mao said, in a nation with 800 million, we can't have 800 million thoughts. That's unmanageable. We should have unified thought, one thought, and that is Mao Zedong thought. That's the CCP thought. And so they want to control your mind. I think that's the difference.
Who are they here? You keep saying they. Who is they?
I know. So people do say, this is not a cultural revolution because in cultural revolution in China, there is a man, there is a face. That's Mao. And here, who are they? And I know there is no one face, but there's a group of them, and we don't see all their faces. We see some, and I call them globalists. They're not Americans. They absolutely don't consider them Americans. They consider themselves the ruler of the earth, not just so in many ways, they're more evil than CCP. So far, CCP managed to control a nation, even though it's just a huge country with like 1/5 of the world population. But the globalists here we're talking about, and their goal is to rule the whole world. And they're not they're a group of them, and we know some faces, but we don't know them all.
It seems like the first,
but some of them are Chinese. I mean, I think it started years and years ago with the Chinese hating America. And then, Trump came along and that probably made it worse. But I just, there are globalists from China as well, right?
This is a difficult topic, and I talk to many people because I'm just curious myself. What is the relationship between the CCP and the globalists? And of course, they work together. And CCP has been the biggest benefit the most from globalism. But I am not sure Xi Jinping now is with them, because Xi Jinping is a nationalist. He doesn't want to share power. He doesn't want to be a group, a member of a group. He wants to be the emperor, not just of China, but eventually of the world. So I think that's why now I think they're breaking up. It's hard for me to read. I talk to a lot of people.
Yeah, I always worry that, I always worry there are things going on that we don't know. Like, for instance, you just raised an issue with how Xi Jinping looks at the world. And I immediately think to myself, well, maybe the globalists know that, and they're trying to raise some sort of bulwark against him. Maybe that's their primary motivation. They just don't say it publicly.
Yeah, and I do think this is very clear to me that Xi Jinping considers himself an emperor. And right now, it's the emperor of China. But he wants more than that. He showed us he wanted more than that. So he did not want to share power with a group of people, I think.
Yeah, emperors tend to want more. Emperors tend to want more. That tends to be the trend with emperors. Yes, they tend to go that way. Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. And go ahead.
And I do think that here, who are behind this, and it's the globalists. Because what's going on in America is not just in America, it's the West. What their target is take down the Western civilization. So, and of course, in order to do that, the first thing they have to destroy is America. As long as America is still free, they can't break up the West. So that's how I look at it.
And I'm guessing the new World Health Organization so-called treaty is something that you're gravely concerned about.
Yeah, of course. And this is something I think a lot of people probably don't see it because they're not familiar with the history of China. How did Mao win the revolution in China? And because Marxist, classic Marxist ideology or the theory is that the revolution should be successful in industrialized countries such as Great Britain and Germany, but it didn't happen, right? It happened in Russia, which is a very backward country, and then China, which was absolutely a agrarian country, no industry whatsoever. And so Mao's contribution to Marxism is he showed that you can use countryside to encircle the cities and take down the country. And that's what Xi Jinping has been doing. He's using the third world to take down the city, which is the first world. So this third world is the countryside. So that's why they have they bought and put in all those puppet, like a World Health Organization from Ethiopia. And so that's how they take over the power of all this, all of the world organization, UN and WTO. I think WTO as well, and all the world organizations has been infiltrated. Not just infiltrated; it's been controlled by CCP.
And you mentioned the World Health Organization. It was Dr. Ghebreyesus, who my understanding is a known communist. Susan, are you happy with that? Need any more? Yeah. I've got many more questions.
Keep on going.
Okay, so before we go to break, I want to go back around to sort of a psychological question, which is that when you look at these major revolutions, so-called, so France, Russia, China, the youth are not just the useful idiots. they seem to be very much the evangelist for the entire project. And they usually have at their head some charismatic leader, whether it's Robespierre or Lenin. And these guys are not good guys. They are not good people.
Yeah.
And do you have any sort of opinion on what that is? What has to go wrong with youth for them to have to fall for this?
Actually, Mao's first revolution, which is the revolution to overthrow the sitting government of nationalists, were not done by young people. They were really done by peasants because they promised them land. And so this is the difference. Mao said he achieved, he had two major achievements in his lifetime. One is the first revolution to overthrow the sitting government. And the second is his cultural revolution, which is also a revolution to overthrow a sitting government. Only this time it is his own government. So cultural revolution for Mao is to overthrow his own party, his own government. Why? Because he felt like he was losing power. He need to overthrow those people in order to put his own people to replace them. So the first time he used peasants. And of course, there were some young soldiers, but not specifically educated young people. But the second time, he used a different kind of army. And that army is the young people, the Red Guards, from elementary school and all the way to colleges. So that is the difference. And the second revolution, the Cultural Revolution, and they used not this time it's not for land because there's no land. Land is all taken and now by the state. So what was the motivation for the young people? Because those young people have been through thoroughly, they have been through the indoctrination for 17 years since 1949. So they knew nothing but communist indoctrination. And so they were taught, like I remember, we were taught that why we have Cultural Revolution is because the capitalists and the bourgeois and those people that we thought we have already defeated. No, they're not totally defeated. They want to bring back capitalism back to China so that we will all become the victim of capitalism. And what was capitalism? We have no idea. It's bad because the party said it's bad. So we're defending our way of life, and we don't know any other way of life. I think that's the difference. If I hope I made.
No, it's very, very interesting. I have to take a little break here, but I want to get further into sort of the whys and hows of the Cultural Revolution, and then the correlation that you see with us now. We're here with Xi Van Fleet. You can follow her on Twitter, X Van Fleet. That's on X, and on Instagram, it's Xi Van Fleet, XI Van Fleet. And as I said at the top of the hour, we'll have an update from Meryl Nass. This is her book, Mao's America, A Survivor's Warning. Quit her job, wrote the book, read it. Be back after this. You could spend thousands of dollars and dozens of hours trying to look a few years younger, or you can skip all that and the hassle and go with what works, Genucel Skincare. Genucel is the secret to better skin. Their products are made in the USA using a proprietary technology that combines a naturally effective base with non-GMO ingredients. In fact, you might have witnessed the astonishing effects of Genucel during a recent unplanned moment of our show, when just a little Genucel XV restored my skin within minutes right before your eyes. That is how fast these products work.
I know I'm a snob about the products I use on my face. Everybody knows it. Every time I go to the dermatologist's office, they're just rows and rows of different creams. Retinols, vitamin C cream, under eye cream, night creams.
Scrubs.
And then when I get to the counter, they're overpriced. All kinds of products that you can all find at Genucel.com.
Susan and I love Genucel so much, we've created our own bundle so you can try our favorite anti-wrinkle creams, correcting serums, under-eye treatments. Say goodbye to those fine lines, forehead wrinkles, skin redness, even those dark under-eye bags. Women and men of all skin types, Genucel has got you covered. Order right now at Genucel.com/Drew to save 50%, actually over 50%, And you'll get a free luxury spa box plus free shipping. That is genucel.com/Drew, GENUCEL.com/DREW. You asked for it, and the wellness company has delivered. The medical emergency kit, replete with ivermectin, prescription antibiotics, and more, continues to fly off the shelves. We keep one here at home. And there are 3 new kits you need to know about, and more are coming. The Contagion Emergency Kit was inspired by the high demand for the medical kits. In that Contagion kit, you'll find ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, budesonide, and a nebulizer. And a must for your next trip is the Travel Emergency Kit, something I made sure exactly what I give my patients is in this kit and some more. The kit includes remedies for jet lag, variety of infections, even GI ailments. Imagine your flight getting grounded anywhere, say even in the U.S., and you start getting sick. You do not want to be at the mercy of the U.S. healthcare system or any healthcare system. At home, we keep the ultimate first aid kit on hand. It has over 20 essential supplies and medications for situations when time is of the essence. Order one for your car and your go bag. Because these kits contain prescriptions, your purchase includes a telemedicine consultation as well as an instruction manual. Go to drdrew.com/TWC for 10% off. That is drdrew.com/TWC for 10% off all your orders. I'm very excited about these kits. Go to drdrew.com/TWC. And this show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Of course, social gatherings are picking up after the winter. It can be easy to forget to recharge your social batteries. And I'm so relieved to see people starting to socialize again now in the aftermath of COVID. We need other humans. We need that contact. And therapy can offer tools and self-awareness to grow a social life that's best for you. It isn't just for people who've experienced major trauma or have serious mental illness. BetterHelp's therapists can help you learn positive coping skills to benefit your everyday life and grow into your best version of yourself, an integrated version of yourself. So if you're thinking of giving therapy a try, give BetterHelp a shot. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and to fit into your schedule. Just fill out a short questionnaire, get matched with a licensed therapist, switch therapist anytime for no additional charge, and find your social sweet spot with BetterHelp. And no longer do I want you to be stigmatized. The stigma is no longer an excuse. This is entirely online, so it's not an excuse. Visit betterhelp.com/DrDrewRumble. Again, that's betterhelp.com/DRDREW Rumble today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/DrDrewRumble. All right. We are back here with G. Van Fleet. Caleb, I'm getting a strange echo in my ears. I don't know if that's other people are hearing that as well, but I hope not, because my voice is coming back to me a second later.
I don't hear it on this
and
side.
I wonder, okay, good. I wonder if that's coming off of the Twitter somehow, the
Yeah, it
Twitter
might be
spaces or
Spaces.
something. Yeah, it's weird. I've never heard this before. Anyway, as long as the rest aren't hearing it, I don't care. G. Van Fleet lived through the Cultural Revolution. She has written a book to warn you all about what we are going through now. And I want to just get a little bit more into the whys of the Cultural Revolution in China. What did I read once? Some history, I think it was a Paul Johnson history, so it was probably a conservative view of the Cultural Revolution. And he made a big issue of Mao's wife being very involved in this. Is that true?
Oh, yes. She actually was the implementer of Mao's ideas, and she absolutely played a major role in the Cultural Revolution. But can we go back a little bit of what we discussed before? And I want to make a comparison to what happened in China, the two revolutions, and what's going on in America. So
yes, that was my next. That was going to be my next step. Go ahead.
The first revolution by Mao was to overthrow a sitting government, and he used peasants, right? He promised them land. And so that is the classic Marxism, is to use class to really ferment a revolution and then overthrow the government. So we have that here. And those are the followers of Bernie Sanders and LC. They want free peace.
They want, what is it again? They want, it's okay. They want free what?
Free peace.
Freebies.
Free stuff.
Freebies. Free stuff. Okay, fair enough. Yes, keep going.
They want the government to take care of us. and they don't care about the rest. Okay.
Right.
And there's another group. They are the supporters of cultural revolution. Those are the indoctrinated young people mostly.
I want to explain to people that G has may I describe why your mouth is dry? She has, you're nodding yes.
Long
Yeah.
COVID.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
She has long COVID, and this is called sialitis, where go ahead. It's no problem. Take your time.
I'm sorry.
There you
I'm
go.
sorry.
You're back.
Yeah.
No problem.
So there's another group of people who are absolutely the woke army. Who are they? They are the social justice warriors. What they are fighting is not they're really not fighting for themselves. They're fighting on behalf of all of us because they want to bring us a better world, right? A world with more just, a world that's more fair, and those are the social justice warriors for the cultural revolution. So the problem is they're just as indoctrinated as the Red Guard. They have no idea what is that better world. They have no idea what communism bring about in the end of the revolution. And we lived through it, but they have no idea. So they're fighting for all of us to bring us a better world, a utopia, that they think this time they can do it better. So I just think that this is important for people to know the difference of those groups that are participating in the so-called woke revolution to overthrow the system.
Yeah, this time it will be different, are the most famous words in any economic assessment. This time it will be different. Of course,
this
it's
time
never
they're
different.
doing better. They're doing it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
Right.
I just want to finish that. I think that's an important question that we discussed in the last segment.
Oh yeah. Oh no. I want to dig even a little deeper into that. And to your point about we lived through this. You that would live through the Cultural Revolution. With the increasing centralization, I spoke to. Do you know who Christine Anderson is? A EU MP who has been screaming about some of this. Particularly, she's worried about the World Health Organization treaty and whatnot. But she says, some of the young folks on the Western side are not as easy to reach, but the Eastern Europeans, they get it. They went through it.
Yeah.
They see what you see. So Eastern Europeans see what Chinese citizens saw during the Cultural Revolution. Particularly, she said, the East Germans. The East Germans, where they got it.
It is amazing today. We see the Western countries importing Marxism back to the Eastern European countries, but those people would not take it because they had it. So I think now today America is the biggest exporter of cultural Marxism, and so they export the ideas to the free world everywhere, and that is the danger. And a lot of people don't even recognize it.
Okay, so when it comes to that, by the way, there's something called oikophobia, which is a theory that cultures eventually hate themselves. And we have Western oikophobia, particularly highly functioning, rich cultures, they eventually turn in on themselves. That's a theory. But Susan, I'm reading your mind. So when she talks about America exporting Marxism, the cultural Marxism, do you worry, Susan, or do you wonder, did China have some hand in making this transformation or in promoting the exportation of cultural Marxism? I'll let you ask the question, Susan.
You're asking me?
I'm asking whether that
I would say yes.
No, I'm asking whether that thought occurred to you. I'm trying to read your mind. I imagine you went, well, we are the biggest exporter of cultural Marxism. Somewhere China had a hand here.
Young kids and the media.
So on Susan's behalf, let me ask, where did China have its hand in helping this along?
Well, they're helping. Yeah, they're helping the American Marxists to overthrow the American system. They're giving a helping hand. But I don't think the ideology is from China. And this is something I think a lot of people are still not aware, but more and more started to see. This is a homegrown. Cultural Marxism is a unique product from America specifically. Was started in Europe, but they brought it to America in the 30s by the Frankfurt School. They are the grandfather of American cultural Marxism. And it took them almost 100 years to get where we're today. So they are really the origin of the American style cultural revolution. And so does China play a role? Of course it does. And but I think it's important to know it's not from China. And of course, where did China get this idea? It's from Europe, from Russia. So I think what's happening today, like people were saying, oh, there's no woke in China. And that's true. Well, you won't see this crazy things such as transgender in China. But that's a good question. Why? Here is the answer. And it's to understand this is very important. Why Mao launched the Cultural Revolution, and with it, the destruction of the culture, cancel culture, and destroy of the past, destroy our heritage, and in the end, about 20 million people lost their lives. Why would he do that? What was the reason? I explain a little bit. It's power. He wanted to take back the power he thought he was losing. Okay. So why there's a cultural revolution in America today? Same reason. There are people who want to take over the power. And in order to take over the power, they have to destroy the system. They have to destroy our election, our rule of law, really our institutions, everything. So that's why they're launching the Cultural Revolution in America. Why there's no Cultural Revolution in China today? Same reason. Xi Jinping has the power. He has all the power. His goal is not to have a revolution. His power is not to have a revolution. His power is to in his own words, let's build a harmonious revolution and a harmonious society. So let everyone be happy. If you complain, you are the one that should be put away. We don't want to complain. We want everybody to have so-called positive energy. I think once you understand that, you understand why we had this chaos in the West. It's because someone want to take over the power.
Let me frame this and see what you do with it, with this frame, which is that you've heard nothing for the last 7 years other than that President Trump is a dictator, former President Trump wants to destroy institutions, and then COVID comes along, and anyone who takes issue with some of the excesses of the institutions and frankly their inaccuracies and disgusting behaviors, you want to destroy the faith in institutions. So how do we? But how do you, our democracy, and you want to overthrow our democracy, so we're going to take out some of your electoral choices like RFK Jr. or Trump, perhaps. So how do we understand this world where each side sees the other as the one that's undoing our institutions? And is one somehow a reaction to the other?
I know it is. I have to say, it is a very, very confusing world to a lot of people, So if people haven't noticed that something weird has been going on for the past decades, they will have a hard time understanding this. And so what happened in the past decades? It is the indoctrination of generations of people started in university. And those people are now really, they take over the institutions. So you heard that word, long march through institutions. So the people now think differently. They think like Marxists. They don't know, but they do, because I know that's how we were taught indoctrinated to think in China. So they think the institution is still there from the surface. They still look, it's still there. We still have our constitution. We still have our court, but something behind a lot of things has changed. The people that were put in those positions were no longer they no longer believe in American foundations and American founding principles. They are no longer really Americans in many ways. So they're still there, but things have changed. So when they say defend our democracy, and they are talking about the institutions that has been rotten from within, and of course they don't see it. And so I think that's part of the reason. And that they are fighting for something that is no longer what it is, what it should be.
Well, Susan, you want to say something here?
Drew has a hard time because we put all three of our kids through really high-level institutions, and most of our kids came back Marxists.
Either way, it's certainly influenced by some.
They were influenced, but
certainly influenced, right?
and that totally makes sense to me.
But it's been since the 90s. I remember in the 80s, there was that big neoconservative movement and all this stuff. And it's been the 90s that it really got going in this sort of systematic way where anybody who had alternative points of view were pushed out, cast out, pressured out, whatever it might be. And it feels like that model is what's sort of trying to be fed everywhere, where it's anything alternative has to be crushed in some way rather than argued with. And you said we're no longer American. We don't teach American history. So how do we expect people to understand what being American is? And that's been going on for a long time. History has been neglected. Yeah. But that's still different than...
It hurt me so bad because I came to this country and it was a difficult journey to make my way here. And once I came here, I feel like I left communism behind me. And I will have the freedom. I thought it will be just there forever, you know. And when I hear people, including my within my family, and talk bad about America, it really, really hurt me. And I was like, do you have any idea to live alternatively in another world like China? But that's what they have been taught, and that's what most people think nowadays. They think about that America is a racist country, is an imperialist, is a colonizer. It's just like it's the worst, the evilest country ever. But they don't know what it is to live in a real communist country that they thought they're fighting to make America become. So it is a long time in the making. It's been a long time, and the conservatives were asleep.
Do you have a set of recommendations to how to push back?
Yeah, that's why I wrote my book. I say that I'm responsible as well. Now, even though I blame on the conservatives because I'm conservative, and I always love America. I always love America. And I always want to be American. And that's another thing missing. After I came here, I tried my best. I just want to be American. I want to know why America is so great. And so I was eager to be assimilated. And I believe in melting pot. And today, we're taught multicultural. And every culture is the same. So we have to bring back America. We have to let young people understand how exceptional America is. And how do we do that? I think my book will tell the young people what it is like to live under communism and how special this country is. We have to bring that back in order to re-educate. Yes, talking about re-education, we need to re-educate especially the young people. And so understanding is the first step. If you don't understand it, and you can't fight back effectively.
I want to swing back around with one more psychological question. Do you think there are times in history where young people are more prone to this kind of thing? The one thing I've noticed is if there's a lot of disruption in family systems, a lot of childhood trauma, that's when this kind of thing seems to emerge. Have you observed anything like that?
Yeah, I think that is absolutely a reason. But also, it's just we have lost this educational system, and it's a long time ago, and the church as well. I think, actually, if you ask me, what is the most important thing, and I would say the church. And I think that the church has been under attack for over 100 years, and today the church is still there. People still go to church, but up to 80% of those woke churches, they are teaching social religion. They're not teaching real Christianity. So that's the first step to destroy the West, is destroy the church. And after that, it's the family, destroy the family, and then the rest. Those two, they're always the target of communism. And that's what they did in China. They destroyed all the religion as soon as they took over power, shut down the monasteries, shut down the churches, and then they destroyed the family. They drive a wedge between parents and the children, and they demand the loyalty of children to the party. And they did exactly the same thing. But so how do we save the future generation? I talk to a lot of people, a lot of young people who are conservative, and I ask them, how come that you are not the victim of the indoctrination? And the answer is consistent, always consistent. Church and family. That's why they are not radical left. That's why they're conservative. So we have to really save our church and the family if we want to win the war.
I think we should leave it right there. We've sort of run the cycle. Xi, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the book. I haven't read it yet, but I can't wait to. I know Susan's going to devour it too. Before I let Xi go, Susan, do you have any questions?
I'm spinning over here.
Yeah, she's been very worried about this. She's extremely concerned. Paranoid.
It's funny because like when the pandemic started, our kids all were just graduating from their master's program or their undergrad program. And they were the first to tell us, do not go outside. You can't travel. Wear a mask.
Oh, during
6
the COVID
feet under
thing.
60, over 60. And they just totally bought this whole thing up. And I was like, I'm flying to Greece. I don't care. I'm old. And obviously you guys are listening to this and it's not true. If you get COVID, you're not going to die. Like, please, what are you doing? So I see how they were already indoctrinated from the colleges, and then but then they kind of went to the other side when they started realizing they weren't being rational. So hopefully our youth can try to get through this.
Reality has a way of coming to bear, don't you think, Xi? That reality kind of comes in if you can help support it? Please comment.
I know. I do see that, but if the reality hit every one of them before they wake up, it will be too late. It will be really too late.
It could be, but I think about this the way I think about people that wake up from having been in a cult, right? And I'm not saying it's a cult. I'm just saying that
it is a cult.
Okay, well, Xi Van Fleet thinks that it's a cult. But if I'm not prepared to say that, but I am prepared to say that I know how people, when they've been indoctrinated into something, when they see reality, it tends to rush in all at once. And that's what they're fighting off. They're fighting, defending, not letting it, because it just keeps wanting to come in. And when it does, it comes in a big rush. When people find their way out of cults, oftentimes it's in a moment where they go, oh my God, I can see it now. So it may be too late, but if you can get enough of them kind of into reality, it does happen fast. And so it's not as though each one that comes to reality. Has to be. I know what you're saying. I hear you.
Yeah.
I take the. Believe the warning, and it is. We are kind of late to the game here. What scares me is I'm seeing procedures that remind me so much of early 20th century Russia and whatnot, where there seems to be people trying to close down other arguments and other points of view and other parties and candidates and things, and that's reprehensible, and we all need to be disgusted by it and react accordingly, it seems to me. And I agree with you. Get back to what the country is about and trying to pay attention to that, what makes it interesting and special, and what kind of genius system our founding fathers created. Any last words before I wrap it up?
Yeah, one last thing I want to say is that sometimes I feel like the conservatives are not really fighting hard enough, and I think maybe we will be helped by the left when they go with when they push their radical ideas too far, and that will wake up a lot of people. I think transgender is one of them. Now a lot of parents are waking up. It's because they are pushing it too far, and hopefully that absolutely will wake up more people.
Yeah, I don't really see this as a right-left thing. I mean, look at Bill Maher. He's always sort of associated himself with left. He's saying he's a friend of mine, and I can stand by everything that comes out of his mouth lately. And as he sees reality and assesses it and thinks hard about it, he's seeing things for what they are, and that's what we all need to do. Xi, thank you so much. Go get the book, everybody. I appreciate you spending a little time with us.
Thank you so much, and I enjoyed the conversation so much.
Me too. Thank you. And I want to, we're going to have Meryl Nass in here in a minute, but I want to remind people we have a new partnership with our old friends at Paleo Valley. Susan and I are huge fans of the bone broth. It is the most delicious, highest quality you can find out there. Chocolate, vanilla, unflavored. We add it to our coffee literally every day. I mean, Susan will not let me get out of bed without saying, bone broth, get me a bone broth. It's made from bones of grass-fed and finished beef. You get glycine, it's amino acid, glucosamine, gelatin, bioavailable protein, and collagen, which helps wrinkles and laxity, helps the gut, alleviates or supports joint health, and it tastes great. Use our exclusive code, our promo code. With that, you can get 15% off your first order of all the products, and you can get 20% off when you subscribe to get even a bigger discount on your bone broth, beef sticks, anything Paleo Valley has to offer. We're a huge fan of their products. If you want to help support your joint health, reduce cellulite, grow healthier hair, nails, skin, go to drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for that 15% off your first order of all their great available products, or simply subscribe to get that 20% off. You'll automatically save by using the link. That's all you got to do is push the link, drdrew.com/Paleo Valley, and boom, you get the discount. So hit that link. So, Caleb, do we have Dr. Meryl Nass available? I know that she was coming in off a meeting.
I'm bringing her in right now. Is there an earthquake happening where you are? Because your camera's moving. Are you okay? Okay.
Susan just knocked against it. She was holding something behind the camera. Wait, hang on.
I was holding the teleprompter.
It looks like you're on.
I have the new Vanna White teleprompter. So
yes. So Susan's doing multiple
holding it
jobs.
over the dangling
Susan
it over.
is not only worrying about China and running the show at this.
I wanted to yell in the background. I was like,
She's also running.
It's so funny because before she started talking about the higher education situation and doctorating, I knew where she was going with it.
Of course.
But that is by far the thing that has made America so compliant to these ideas, these communist ideas. And it just, I saw my kids completely transform, and I want them to know about communism. I want them to know about Marxism, and I want them to understand the rest of the world, not just live in the little Pinsky bubble. But when they really come back, just spouting this stuff, you're like, whoa.
Whoa, indeed. Let's bring Dr. Meryl Nass in here. There's Susan Pinsky. Meryl, we have had her on many times here. She's an MIT graduate. She's an internist. She's been involved for quite some time in pandemic preparedness. And Meryl, welcome back.
Hey, thank you again for having me.
Let me get your particulars so I can promote where people can. It's Nass Meryl, right? Isn't that where people can follow you on
Nass
X?
Meryl on Twitter.
At Nass Meryl. Excellent. So you have some new, doortofreedom.org. Tell me about that.
Door to Freedom is an organization I founded last year to fight the WHO effort because there were lots of organizations that were doing a little bit and none that were totally focused on it. And I thought we needed that focus. We also needed a website that would put all the WHO documents, all the versions of the treaty, the international health regulations, and UN documents, and other things all in one place so people would be able to find them because they were very difficult to find. And anyway, I created an organization. Now we have a small staff, and we are here to help people around the world fight this, wherever they are, in a whole lot of different ways.
Could you imagine when you were practicing medicine in New England 20 years ago that this is where we end up? Isn't it something? Isn't it astonishing?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, what can I say? It's like we've stepped into another dimension. The people who have been controlling things behind the scenes are now visible.
Mm.
Who knew that?
Is it COVID that did that for us? Or you can tell me who it is in a second, but is it COVID that did that?
Well, I think that they became bolder. They thought they were coming to the end and that they would be able to, I mean, I hate to say it, to impose a global government that they could run. And in order to do that, you can't hide what you're doing anymore. You have to make it obvious. And so they tried to do it quietly at the WHO and at the UN. But still, if you're looking at the documents, it's right there. They talk about global governance. They're trying to change the financial system of the world, the health system of the world, control information around the world, impose the PrEP Act, which took away liability from unlicensed drugs and vaccines on the whole world.
And who are they?
Well, I can't give you a name or names, but it is, very wealthy people who are behind the WHO, the UN, who manage to tell the G20 what they're supposed to do. That sort of group. So, it's probably the Bilderbergers, the Trilaterals, Council on Foreign Relations, etc.
And you shared with me your new sort of slides that I thought were really very clear. There we go. That I wanted to put up. Tell us what's on this page.
I have to make it bigger. Basically, these are 8 things that the WHO wants to be able to do. And if they can get their pandemic treaty and their amendments to the international health regulations passed in May, 7 weeks from now, they will be able to control information, restrict the medications you are allowed to have when a pandemic occurs. They will be able to impose quarantines, border closures, masks, vaccinations, unlicensed vaccines, and no liability for these unlicensed medical products.
It's unreal. Yeah. It's really unreal. They learned nothing from COVID, and they consider it some sort of triumph or trial run that they now need to triple down on.
I guess that's right. This must have been the dress rehearsal.
And then there's another screen here that you shared with me. If we could put that up, Caleb.
I only have this. Let me get the other one if there's another one. Yeah, if there was a page 2, I might have missed it. I'm going to pull it up right now.
There is a page 2. While we're getting that, Meryl, maybe you can tell us what people should be. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the other thing that isn't on here that the World Health Organization wants to do, which in some ways is the scariest, is that the World Health Organization wants to become the world controller of what they call potential pandemic pathogens. And the other name for these are biological warfare agents. So the WHO is directing countries to go find them, to build sequencing laboratories so that they can decode the genome. And then as soon as they've got the thing decoded, they send the sequence to the WHO, send samples of the virus or bacteria, whatever it is, to the WHO. And the WHO is building a biohub network that will hold on to these pathogens and share them globally. with universities, with pharmaceutical companies, with research centers, and the nations that find them are also allowed to share them or sell them. And if these pathogens are used to make drugs, vaccines, or tests, then the countries that provided them will get royalties, which they call benefits. So it's basically a method of open sourcing biological warfare agents, spreading them around the world, spreading the sequences, the genetic code for these viruses and bacteria on the internet, where hackers can download them and recreate them. So and of course, the United States alone has 200 accidents a year with research on these dangerous pathogens that can cause pandemics in humans, animals, or plants. 200 get reported to the CDC every year in the US alone. So if we now direct 196 countries to start doing the same thing, how many accidents are there going to be? And when every nation has all the same pathogens, when a pandemic starts, you'll have no idea where it came from. You won't be able to you won't be able to identify the source. And then they roll out their 100-day vaccines, their, rapidly produced drugs, and all the other instructions that the WHO plans to impose on every nation in the world.
I'm guessing that we're one of the better managers of sort of viral safety environments. So at the very minimum, we can expect 196 times 200 events out there in the world if there are 196 countries, and probably more like 196 times 1,000 or something in that order. Or let's say conservatively times 400. I mean, it's still an insane amount. Now, on your page 2 of the placards you sent to us, there are 2 QR codes. One is to the Sovereignty Project, and the other is to the, there we are, Sovereignty Coalition, and the other is Door to Freedom. Is there a difference between those two?
Yeah, so Door to Freedom is one of the 15 or 18 members of the Sovereignty Coalition. So Sovereignty Coalition is a group of organizations that are all working on this issue. And in fact, we're going to have a webinar right after your program. If people want to sign up for that, they can do so at the Sovereignty Coalition site. But
sovereigntycoalition.org, right? .org.
Correct. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think I did the Sovereignty QR code, and it was very easy to sign the various sign your name to the various documents you guys have. Tell people about that.
Yeah. So Sovereignty Coalition has basically a petition and rolls out a line acts, that's a company that has made it very easy, created software to make it very easy to contact your elected representatives at the state, county, federal level, and send them messages that either you create or that are already there. So we can do that. And then Door to Freedom has a vast amount of information about all aspects of the Great Reset, as well as the UN, the WHO, analyses, videos, memes, posters, handouts, etc. And we too are trying to, we're working with Sovereignty Coalition to roll out a program so that people at the state level can ask their legislators to pass a resolution or a bill that will say that the WHO does not have authority in your state to give you orders to manage your healthcare in any way. That same statement can be made by the AG or the governor.
And then Louisiana just came out and said something to this effect. Is that going to have any carry?
So we think it will. Last week, Louisiana's Senate voted unanimously, 37-0, for a bill that said the WHO has, and the UN and the World Economic Forum have no authority in the state of Louisiana. And even if they try to express their wishes through, for instance, the federal government, it will not be allowed as a cause of action in Louisiana. That's a very important vote for many reasons. It's the first state to have passed such a bill. It also, well, it hasn't passed yet in the whole state, but it will. So but it was unanimous, which meant that the Republicans and the Democrats voted for it. This is a nonpartisan issue, even though the Democrats have
should be.
tried to make it a partisan issue. But
It
it's
should
really
be. It
about,
should be.
do you and your doctor have, control of your own body and your health care, or does the WHO? And, we say, no, the state doesn't, the federal government doesn't. Certainly, why would we give it to the WHO, especially after they did everything wrong during COVID? So we think this is a very important precedent, and we're trying to roll this thing out in the rest of the country. Now, some states have already finished their session of the legislature, so can't do it that way, but they all have attorney generals and governors who can make the same statement. Okay, so why do we think you have the right to say this at the state level? And the reason is that the Constitution says in the 10th Amendment that any authority that wasn't specifically given to the federal government falls to the states or to the people. And health was deliberately not put into the Constitution, and so it falls to the states. The federal government has acknowledged this at times, and 18 years ago, in fact, the federal government acknowledged this in a reservation to the WHO when they said, we're going to go along with these amendments, but if the state has authority, all we'll be able to do is give them a recommendation in favor, but we're not going to be able to turn over authority to you for it. So that was very interesting. And 15 attorney generals 2 years ago challenged the federal government, which had, on the last day of the Obama administration, rolled out a plan that identified the definition of a public health emergency of international concern as having 5 parts. Any one of these parts would meet the definition of public health emergency, and 3 of those definitions relied on a decision by the WHO. So basically what Obama did on his last day in office was say, we're going to turn over the authority for declaring public health emergencies of international concern to the WHO. The attorney generals challenged that in a petition. They pointed out why the states had authority and how in fact the United States never ratified the Constitution of the WHO, which is the treaty document that specifies the relationship between the United States and the WHO, and that we haven't ratified subsequent documents like the international health regulations or the amendments. And so it is really questionable whether we are bound by those documents. For all those reasons, they challenged the government. The Biden Department of Health rejected the petition. The AGs of Texas and Oklahoma sued in 2023, and the case was thrown out by a judge on the basis that they didn't have standing because the states had not been harmed at that point by this transfer of sovereignty over to the WHO. So that's where we stand with it. We have this wonderful precedent that the AG said, look, you can't do this, 15 of them, and we need to bring those states, the AGs who are in now, some of whom were in then, some of whom weren't, and we need to make them do the same thing and say about the WHO, you don't have any authority over the populations in our states.
I hate to see this end up in the Supreme Court, but I can tell you guys are ready if it does. And as it pertains to the federal government and healthcare, they refuse to get involved in mental health care to this day in any way. Medicare obviously is a transgression from the constitutional privileges granted to the federal government, but there's something called the IMD exclusion that persists to this day. And it was Franklin Pierce that first gave an opinion on that. So that has been standing for quite some time. So Meryl, where do you want people to go? I got to wrap things up. Where you said that you're having a little symposium or something? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So 4 people, the 2 founders of Sovereignty Coalition, who are Frank Gaffney and Reggie Littlejohn. James Lindsay and myself will be speaking at 8:00 Eastern time tonight on a webinar to try to explain to people what's going on with the WHO. We've got 7 weeks, and then there will be a vote of all the members regarding this pandemic treaty and the international health regulations. And we need the world to understand what's going on. There's tremendous censorship, as we know. The WHO, of course, wants to make that worldwide. And so we can't get the message. It's very hard to get the message out. And I really appreciate, Dr. Drew, that you've let me come on and reach your audience. But it's critical that we tell people what this is. This is an abrogation of 5 of the amendments to the U.S. Constitution if these documents are passed and the United States enforces them. We got to stop this process. We've got to reject them, stop ratification, insist that the Senate has to ratify. There are various ways to do this, but we're working hard. We're pushing every lever we know.
Is the show available at sovereigntycoalition.org?
Yes, it will be. Absolutely. Thanks.
It's in 45 minutes. It's coming right up here. So if you guys want to collect other people in your family and friends, do go get them and ask them to listen to Dr. Nass. This is important stuff. And again, do scan those QR codes. They're so easy. You can just sign your name to the document. It goes right to your elected officials. It's really very, very respectful use of your time. They're not going to ask you to do very much, but I know that everyone has feelings about this. So please get that QR code. There it is. Scan it right now. It's the one on the left. That's the one I want you to just scan. And then, Kayla, can we also put this up on our website or something? Can we have it out there somewhere?
I'll put it up there. All the links will be up there on the website too.
All right, Dr. Nass, please tweet out also that you're going to be doing and then tag me and I'll retweet it for you when it comes time for the event tonight. Thank you so much.
Dr. Nass?
Oh, to be on Rumble?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. If it's on Rumble, okay. Well, we'll see. If it's on Rumble, there's a new feature called ratings, so I can send everyone watching our show now over to yours if it was happening. But I'll look and see if I can send people that way.
Yeah, the Sovereignty Coalition is planning webinars every Monday from now on till these 2 documents are considered by the World Health Assembly. So sign up and you'll get an email about them, and you can also get the link from my Substack, Meryl Nass, .substack.com.
And do get a Rumble channel. I mean, I'm looking at the Rumble rants here, and they're like, "Is there a Rumble channel?" People want to be watching this on Rumble, and they want to chat about it while they're watching. So, again, thank you again. We'll talk to you soon, no doubt.
Great.
And let's review our upcoming guests here. I'm going to be traveling a bit, so Dr. Kelly Victory will take over on April 3rd, Wednesday, with Ed Dowd, Robert Barnes, Viva. What's that?
You skipped over tomorrow.
No, I'm going back to it. Viva Fry's partner, Robert Barnes, will be in here tomorrow. Vivek Ramaswamy, April 9th. Ivor Cummings with Dr. Kelly Victory. Again, I'm out and traveling. Jack Prasabik, Matthias Desmet, Salty Cracker. Many interesting people. And if you want people to, bring back around, you want to hear more from somebody, please let us know at contact@drdrew.com, or if you have suggestions. Again, Emily Barsh, who I see her ranting away on the Rumble rants with you guys, has been hard at work and just killing it on the bookings. So I'm assuming we will keep it going that way. And I'm constantly throwing her ideas that people that catch my eye out in social media or other places. So please be a part of that and send it our way too, if you could. We appreciate Dr. Nass spending a little time with us today. Go watch her seminar tonight, and it's in 40 minutes.
I just tweeted it.
Good, excellent. And thank you to She Van Fleet for spending a little time with us, and to get her book, read it, and read history, everybody. It's a time. We need to fill in the gaps of our own knowledge. Many places you can go to read good stuff. So do so. And we will see you tomorrow at 3:00 Pacific time with Robert Barnes. Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800 273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help. The parallel economy has empowered us to care for our health, well-being, as well as longevity. Likewise, for us pet parents who now have a place to go when it comes to keeping the family dogs, cats, even horses in the best shape possible. As a dog dad, I'm thrilled to be working with Pet Club 24/7, a company founded by two guys who lost dogs to serious conditions, including cancer. Pet Club 24/7 has an incredible array of products, including a line of supplements for humans, such as the Inforce Plus Coreolus Versicolor and Inforce Coreolus Versicolor with reishi. My friend and colleague, Christina Ferrari, a cancer survivor herself, swears by it.
When I was diagnosed, the doctor in the emergency room told me, you have 2 years to live.
Oh, boy.
Along with the stem cell, I took these. I have been in remission for 8 years now.
For dogs, Mush Puppy treats are a fan favorite. Rex, oh boy. Oh, he came right. Oh, there he is. They are also made with the Coreolus versicolor mushroom, which supports their immune system according to hundreds of clinical studies. Here's Kristen Ludlow, National Vice President.
That strain does matter. We do have the most potent strain, and we also extract it in a proprietary way. And that's why we've been having such wonderful experiences with these products.
Mush Puppies are made here in the U.S. There are no fillers. It's non-addicting. Your dog can't accidentally overdose. Go to drdrew.com/petclub247 for a discount off the list price. That is drdrew.com, PETCLUB 247, Pet Club 247.